Welcome to the Crochet Show with your host Nikki. Today we're going to talk about 30 plus easy crochet stitches that you can use to make a blanket. We're going to talk about 30 plus crochet stitches, like easy crochet stitches. And if you consider them not easy, I promise you I have a video tutorial with it. Pretty much all of them, I believe, I have a video tutorial with it. So it's going to make it very easy for you. I categorize them into specific themes like lace, unique, textured, thick, etc. So we're going to go through all of them. I would highly recommend you're going to stay until the end because I have something special and you might actually want to know about that. So be sure to stay till the end. Okay, I think we should get started, shall we? Okay, number one, different single crochet stitches. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, let me show you, okay? I have here a collection, I should swoop over a little bit, that has 5 different versions. Where am I pointing? There we go. 5 different versions of how you can connect single crochets together to make something different, okay? So they all kind of have single crochets, but they're all named slightly different, okay? So the foundation is a single crochet. So right up here is the spiral single crochet. It is pretty much single crochet, but at the beginning and the end, you're doing either an increase or decrease, which makes the entire thing slanted, okay? So that when you have a big blanket in the end, you have a slanted blanket. So you can have that slanted blanket, or you can adjust to it so that the entire thing is simply, you know, going, looks like it's slanted, but then you're going to adjust to it in the end to make it non-slanted, right? But that is number one. Right next to it, the zigzag, is a chevron. It's a single crochet chevron, and I have used it for a few patterns, and one of them is a blanket, which you can see right there actually. So it's like a gradient that I made this blanket with. So it goes from like white to like pink, red, and then burgundy, like this really deep red, and then it goes again, right? White, etc. Onto the burgundy. It's like this beautiful gradient going back and forth in that blanket. So it's gorgeous with the chevron on top of it. It's just beautiful. Then right here, down here on the bottom left, you can see the pretty much a plaid stitch, all done in single crochet. So you can make an entire project using plaid. Plaid is pretty much a color technique. The entire thing is single crochet. You're just switching colors at a certain point to create the plaid color texture pretty much, right? So that is number 3 for the single crochet. Number 4, right next to it, is the Trinity stitch. The Trinity stitch is pretty much a combination of single crochets and extra loops. So you're actually adding, as you can see on that hook right there, it's like a part of it, right? So you can see how I pulled up extra loops, but technically it's the height of a single crochet. We're just adding in a few little extra loops to it to make it look a little bit prettier, right? So that's the idea behind that. And the very last one at the end there is linked single crochet. We're going to go into a little bit linked crochet a little bit later again, because it's actually part of a different theme in addition to it, but this is all done in single crochet, just different versions of them. Okay, all right, so that is number 1, everything single crochet. So now obviously you can tell single crochet will take a little bit to crochet, right? So it may take a little bit, and so you're going to take some time until you finish your blanket. I would suggest making smaller blankets with it, but you can even make graphgans. So everything is single crochet. You're just changing colors at a certain point according to a pixelated graph that you have, and you change colors accordingly and you make a picture in the end. Whoa, it's really beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. I've made a few of them. Really excited. So maybe you want to check those out. We're going to hop right into number 2. Number 2 is lace crochet stitches. So have you ever done lace crochet stitches? Let me show you a few of them. Okay, the very first one that you see right here is actually one that I published just today, literally. Right now is a brand new stitch, and it's called the blooming shell stitch. Okay, so you can literally see how the shell stitches, I'm going to point to this one right here, literally expands and blooms. Okay, so That means it starts with less double crochet stitches and then expands over, right? But we're accommodating that by shrinking the amount of chains there are next to it, right? So it makes this blooming effect. Really, really beautiful, absolutely stunning stitch. And it's very lacy. Right next to it, the one that's kind of in copper color, that is known as the horizontal straight or straight box stitch, or tulip stitch, or the horizontal version of corner to corner. So it is the little box stitch, right? That is what corner to corner is made out of, but it's a straight version. That means you're actually going straight instead of in a diagonal, okay? So that is a gorgeous stitch. Right down here on the bottom left, that looks like a heart, that is the traditional corner to corner, all done in double crochet. Right next to it is the diamond stitch. I call it the diamond stitch, but technically it's a filet crochet stitch, and it makes a diamond shape, right? So that means you have a pixelated graph, and it allows you to figure out when are you going to make these holes or gaps or open spaces to create a picture that is either with the open or closed mesh, right? So one or the other will create the image, right? You can have the image within an open mesh or the closed mesh. In this case, the picture is in the closed mesh, right? Which is absolutely beautiful. Right next to it, which you would probably say, Nikki, that's another corner to corner. That's correct, but it's known as the mini corner to corner. Although the picture doesn't represent that, the mini corner to corner is the half double crochet corner to corner. So the traditional one you see right here in the lighter pink, number 3, is double crochet corner to corner. The one on the very end there is half double crochet corner to corner, which means that little box stitch is smaller and therefore known as mini corner to corner. I put it into the lace category because it does have quite a bit of holes. It is not the traditional lace, I understand, but I threw it in here because I felt like they all fit together. So that is the lace category. So number 3, we have 6 in total. So hopefully you stay until the end, because at the very end I have something really, really fun. So number 3 is the textured crochet stitches. So let me show you a few of them. Okay, we have the waffle stitch right here in blue. Most people know the waffle stitch. It's a very, very commonly known stitch, and it's extremely textured. It does look like a waffle, in my opinion. It's a really pretty stitch. The one right next to it is the tri-square stitch. It looks very similar to the basket weave stitch, which we'll get to in the end. I removed the basket stitch weave from this category because of a certain reason. I'll show you later. Anyways, this is a tri-square stitch. Very, very beautiful. It's pretty much done in layers of front post double crochets done in a round, or you do a mixture of front post or back post double crochets if you do it in rows, right? In this case, it would be for a blanket, so you would do it in rows. Down here on the bottom left is a cable. Cables are probably one of my favorites because they just, I love the swirl. I've always loved like Victorian style swirly things. Absolutely stunning. And I love the cable effect. And have you ever seen a blanket with a cable on it, or multiple cables, different sized cables? Just stunning. Anyways, so you can learn how to do the cables right here, right? So right next to it, the middle one that looks like a Christmas theme is the Apache Tears stitch. It's a stitch pattern, of course, right? It is also, it pretty much uses the front post double crochet to create that tear, right? And in between, you will see single crochets. So it's a beautiful stitch, a beautiful way to create a gorgeous texture. It looks different on the other side, meaning the wrong side versus the right side, but it's so, so beautiful. Absolutely love it. And I've made multiple patterns with this. I believe at least 5 patterns I made using this stitch. Right on the very end there is the, what is that stitch called? Goodness gracious, my name, the Celtic weave stitch. I had it almost all in my head. The Celtic weave stitch is all the way in the back right corner. It's very similar and very much related to the cable stitch, but you pretty much doing teeny tiny cables throughout the entire pattern. Absolutely beautiful. And it's always 2 stitches and has a lot of texture, a lot of volume. Gorgeous for a blanket or anything related to it. We're going to just talk about blankets here, but you can use the stitch, all the stitches for anything pretty much, right? So let's hop right into number 4. Number 4 is unique crochet stitches. I didn't know what else to call them because they literally are super unique. So let's check them out, shall we? We have the rosebud stitch, which has a lot of single crochet in between, and then you have that rose, the 3D rose literally coming out of it, which is like so beautiful. I actually made a frame with it. Like I made a picture and I added in like a little like a rectangle, and I added it into a picture frame and gave it to my mom, and she hung it on her wall, and she still has it. It's like so beautiful having that 3D rose right on top, and she loves roses, and she has a rose garden actually. Right next to it is the honeycomb stitch. Oh my goodness, having a honeycomb stitch for a blanket. Can you imagine how fluffy that blanket would be? Oh my goodness, like you can literally bounce on it. It's like so cuddly and so cozy. Definitely a winter blanket style, even though honeycomb is traditionally known for the summer, but for this specific stitch, due to the texture, I would say it's definitely a winter blanket. Right down here on the bottom left corner, you see the Catherine's wheel stitch. Some people just call it the wheel stitch. But it's super beautiful, and I actually used it for a hat, but you can easily use it for a blanket. It's so beautiful to have that stitch with all these flowers. It's pretty much, I just thought about my flower blanket that I made. You know, it used to be called the Granny's Flower Garden Blanket, and that kind of reminds me of that because all these flowers, right? But instead of in a square, it is literally all around. It's so beautiful. In the middle here on the bottom, you will see the crocodile stitch, which was very popular a few years ago. I think it's still very popular, but it was trending a few years ago for, you know, the mermaid tail, right? But in this case, you can easily make a blanket with this. And it has actually some kind of holes in between, so I don't know how warm it would be. It for sure is a yarn eater, but it's just beautiful. I mean, just simply stunning. It's a gorgeous stitch with a lot of texture, right? So it's a very unique stitch. On the very end right there is the rolling wave stitch. I thought it was a very unique stitch because it is not a normal way of putting your stitches together. It's like a wave, right? So you have the entire variety of basic crochet stitches, starting with single crochet, half double crochet, all the way to treble crochet, and combining them in a way with different colors that it creates a beautiful gradient wave effect. In fact, I have a blanket for that in case you're curious about all of those. So let's hop right into the next one. The next one is what I call the thick stitches. So if you need something really thick, like a thick texture, like, okay, the honeycomb stitch was kind of a thick texture, but I'm talking about this is a on purpose thick texture. So let me show you what that actually means in pictures or stitches. So we have the first 3 here shown in blue and these light pink colors are all thermal stitch. But starting from the top, it is single crochet. Down here is the half double crochet. I kind of put it next to each other so you can see it a little bit better. And in the back right corner there on the top is the thermal, the double crochet thermal stitch. So all of them are very thick stitches. Take a long time to make, keep that in mind, but it for sure is a thick texture in the end. So a thermal stitch is pretty much going in a zigzag upwards, right? So what you're technically doing, but you don't sew it, right? You're crocheting while you're doing it, is having 2 layers of, pretend you're making 2 layers, like 2 blankets at the same time, and then you sewing them together or gluing them together. Pretend it's gluing. But in this case, for the thermal stitch, you're actually doing that at the same time. So you're kind of going like from one blanket to another, like zigzag over, and you're making that really thick texture. So we have the thermal stitch in single crochet, half double crochet in the back right corner is a double crochet. In the middle of the darker pink color, that is the basket weave stitch. The reason I put it there is because of the way it looks, right? It is making that weave over, and we all know that anything that is woven is a little bit thicker. So this is why I put it into the thick category, where you're literally going over and you're making these really beautiful thick texture that looks like a basket. So at the very end right there, you see the half double crochet in the third loop behind the V. So if you've ever looked at your stitches, you see the V on the top, and then behind it there's a little extra loop kind of back there. So it's the third loop, right? And it's behind the V. So if you go there and create your half double crochets over and over, obviously that also, and it's a little challenging if you don't know which stitch it is or how to bend your arm a little bit, right? But it definitely is worth it. It's a beautiful stitch. It's gorgeous, and it makes a really, really thick texture. So it may take a little bit, but it has a really beautiful wavy texture on the top, and it's absolutely stunning and gorgeous. Okay, so the very last category is Tunisian crochet stitches. Now I added something into this, and that is the linked crochet. So linked crochet, and there's different versions of this. This specific one right here that you see on the top left corner is linked double crochet, but there are many different versions. There's linked single crochet, half double, double, and treble crochet, right? All of them. And I have to tell you, linked crochet is a very special crochet technique. It is, in my opinion, between normal crochet and Tunisian crochet, but from a Tunisian crochet expert, I was told it's actually part of the Tunisian crochet family because you are connecting stitches. So technically in Tunisian crochet, if you've ever looked at it, made it, tried it out, whatever, you that you are picking up loops, right, in certain ways, from one end of your project to the another end of the project, and then you're working your way backwards, meaning removing the loops from your hook again, right, or a long tail that's on it, right, a cord, so that you're working on the project as you go by going back and forth, right? It's like a combination of crochet and knitting pretty much, because you're picking up your loops and then you're working them back off. So that's Tunisian crochet. Well, linked crochet is actually where you're just connecting the stitches one at a time. So you never going all the way through and picking them up and working your way back. It is one at a time you're connecting the stitches together. So in this case right here, the linked double crochet, I literally connected the next stitch that I'm working on, the double crochet, and linked it to the previous stitch, and then I moved on to the next. So which is why for me it is kind of in between the normal and the Tunisian crochet. It's absolutely stunning. It has no gaps at all, like literally no gaps. So if you don't like the gaps between big stitches like double crochet and treble crochet, try linked crochet. And the very end right there on the top right corner, you see this mock Tunisian crochet stitch. It is also known as the honeycomb stitch number 2. There is a number 1, although it's not called number 1, but it's a really, really beautiful stitch. It has a beautiful texture. Yes, it's all Tunisian. Down here is from the front to the end, you see the simple stitch, the very basic Tunisian crochet stitch. After that, in pink, you see the pearl, Tunisian pearl stitch. So it looks very similar to knitting, which is why I said Tunisian is between crocheting and knitting. And at the very end, you see the Tunisian knit stitch. Beautiful stitches all throughout, and has a gorgeous texture. Now, a lot of people always ask me, what do you do with all the curling? I know Tunisian crochet typically curls a little bit because you're only working on one side of your project. You're never turning the project around unless it's a special stitch. You're never really turning it around. You're staying on one side. You're just working your way back and forth without turning your project, which means because of the way you are moving your hook, like the yarn over part, yarn under, however you want to do it, it makes the thing curl up because you're staying on one side, right? You're putting a lot of tension and extra yarn on one side versus the other side, and therefore it curls. Now, the only thing I can tell you how to remove the curl is 2 different ways how I've tried it. It works perfectly. 1, go up in hook size when you do Tunisian crochet. So if you use typically a, let's say a 5mm hook for worsted weighted yarn, I would likely use a 6.5 or 7mm hook for Tunisian crochet. The next part works perfectly is blocking your project in the end. That means if you have acrylic a yarn, you steam block it. If you have wool, you wet block it. Different ways on how you can block your project in the end so that it doesn't curl. Okay, so don't you worry about it. The curl is normal in Tunisian crochet, and it's nothing to worry about. You just have to block it in the end. Now, here's the thing. I wanted to tell you about it, and I thought it was so cool that, so I have a membership. Let me get into it. Don't run away just yet. Okay, I have a membership called the Crochet Club, and guess what we're doing right there? We have a crochet along happening, and it's exclusive to TCC, which is the Crochet Club, and we're going to go through talking about, and actually I'm going to teach all those different stitches, not these specific links that I just showed you, but 12 really pretty stitches, and it stays there forever. So if you're ever going to go back years from now and you want to do the crochet along on your own time, you can. But right now we're starting next week for the crochet along, and I would love for you to join the crochet along. What we're going to do is not just talk about the stitches, but also what you can do with it. I'm kind of taking you out of the comfort zone and making a project as we go along. We'll talk about colors, techniques, and how to put things together, how to sew them together. You can make blankets with it, and everything will be ready by the gift giving season. So it's going to be for a few months. So come join the Crochet Club, and you will learn techniques that you might not ever have seen before. I take you out of your comfort zone, and I will support you all the way through. That is what my membership is all about. And on top of that, it's kind of like a cherry on top. You get all my PDF patterns in a vault, easily accessible. So come join the Crochet Club. All of the information is in the link in the description for this specific video. I hope to see you guys here next week for another very detailed crochet show. I hope you're going to join TCC so you can learn more details about crochet, the most details you ever probably have heard of. Lots of crochet tips, of course, PDF patterns, and so much more. Community over 300 members, so come join us. We have a blast in there. Again, link is in the description for all of it. I hope to see you guys the next time. Until then, bye!